If you want to learn how to prepare for Season 8 of New World Aeternum and make a ton of gold the first few days of the new season, then this video is for you. Let's face it, the overall population of New World Aeternum is dwindling pretty rapidly, and that's just because there's a lack of content or everyone that's been playing for a while is just a little bit bored at the moment. However, we can tell just based on previous seasons that when a new season is launched, the population boosts up, which means there's going to be a huge demand for certain items, allowing you to make a ton of gold. I've done this in the past. I'm sitting on over 1.5 million gold on one character, and I have a handful of characters. So, again, today's video is going to be highlighting some of the different items that I know for a fact will be high in demand, which will yield you a ton of gold in the beginning of Season 8. So let's start things off right off the bat by going over to the faction vendor. And what I'm going to be doing here is picking up every single gypsum orb, essentially every single day. Again, there's a handful of daily activities that you can do just to stock up on certain items. And I'm going to be explaining why I'm specifically stocking up on gypsum orbs. So not only can you pick up some quick gypsum orbs at the faction vendor, you can also head over to the wishing well at Cutlass Keys. Sorry, the Well of Fortune. And then scroll towards the bottom, and then there you go. You can easily pick up 5 more gypsum orbs right here for just like 10 mystic doubloons, which is basically free. So be sure to pick those up daily as well. And now for the explanation. Why the heck are you picking up all these gypsum orbs? Well, first things first, you should at this point try to max out your armoring and weaponsmithing to 250 so you can actually turn these gypsum orbs into profit. And this is what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to be scrolling down here to show you an example. Here we go. Enchanted handle. We can see that it requires a handful of prismatic materials. I'll get to that in a second. But more importantly, 5 gypsum orbs just to craft one handle. The reason these type of resources are important is because it takes 2 resources, such as a enchanted handle or a blessed rivet or honing acid. You guys can see a few here to craft a matrix. Why do we want to make sure we're stacking up on gypsum orbs in order to eventually craft matrices? Is the fact that you need a matrix to upgrade an artifact to 725. We know for a fact that every season leads to a handful of new artifacts being added to the game, which means everybody's going to be getting those artifacts, and depending on whether or not they're good, they're going to want to upgrade them to 725 as fast as possible. There's a lot of sweaty people here, which means there could be a lot of gold in your pocket if you take advantage of that. Even today, we can see that the matrices are like between 5.5 and 7K, depending on how good a specific artifact is. Once we get more information, like let's say there's a huge, great weapon coming, that means you'll probably want to mass produce weapon matrices because the demand for that will be extremely high. Moving on to the next opportunity, real quick question. When's the last time you guys actually took a look at prismatic prices on your server? More specifically, the prismatic materials. I can see prismatic cloth are going easily for 300 gold, prismatic planks, 312 gold. These are very, very expensive. I remember back in the day when these were like 150 gold, basically half of the price for each one. I mean, prismatic ingots are over 400 gold each, and it's pretty crazy. What I highly recommend is actually starting to stack up on these resources. I've got probably 150 to $200,000, I mean, gold worth of prismatic resources in my storage today, because again, the demand of these materials are going to go up as the number of players come back and as the overall requirement to kind of get the new best gear also increases. Again, I mean, the overall number of perks will likely increase down the road too. And once that happens, everyone's going to want to start crafting. So, in the meantime, make sure you pick up the global yield fort bonus, put on your specific crafting gear, and start crafting your daily prismatic materials. Do this every single day throw it in the storage, and you'll be ready for the first few days to make a ton of gold in Season 8 of New World. Next up, I do want to kind of move on to another important topic, which is more so focused on gear itself. So, if you are crafting or if you just like playing the market a little bit, I highly recommend just every day after you do these activities, jump in the trading post and do some searching. Again, I'm not going to call out all of the specifics in regards to like the most sought after gear. But for this example, I'm just kind of filtering by freedom. And you can see I'm finding some 725 gear score item for only like 5,000 gold. Sometimes you'll find hidden gems in here. If you want to be more specific, go ahead and adjust your filters even more. I have a lot of fun with this personally because there's so many situations where I see very, very great items that are just posted for dirt cheap. And what I've been doing is just stocking up on those items and throwing them in my storage because I know the player base is going to dramatically increase the first few days of a new season, which means it's going to be my prime time to post these up and make more of a profit than I actually did when I invested in buying them. And again, I mean, like, I like kind of searching by freedom and enchanted ward for some heavy gear because I know bruisers love this kind of stuff. You can filter by price as well, just to kind of jump to some of the very, very good perk mixes, as you can tell here. And sometimes, you'll come across some great items which you can just quickly either flip now based on the PvP oriented player base that still plays today, or hang on to for the boost in overall population to hopefully make a quick buck as well. Also, many of you guys that are still playing likely are still kind of creating your best in slot gear set. So there might be a situation where you're doing a lot of crafting. I highly recommend that all of those crafts that do not hit the exact perk pools you want to just throw in the storage too, because you can likely make more money from selling these once the population does increase. So you can see, for example, I was crafting a bunch of breastplates. I threw them in here and I plan on selling them on the first few days of the new season just to boost up my overall gold even further. Friendly reminder, if you made it this far in the video, consider subscribing. It really, really helps me out and tells me I'm doing a decent job. Okay, now let's jump into the next one. One of the things that I thought was really interesting that a lot of people are not talking about is the fact that infused health potions have a huge amount of profitability behind it if you're smart about it. So, what I highly recommend is stockpiling on infused health potions by throwing up buy orders at this point and just picking up as many as possible. It's pretty much common sense that the overall demand for health potions increase when there's more players participating in PvP activities, right? As many of us know, next month in April, the Coral Divide OPR map is coming back, which means a lot of players are going to be jumping on and playing a PvP specific game mode, which means they're going to be using a lot of consumables, whether it's Desert Sunrise or attribute focused foods or honing stones, or of course, infused health potions. Last time we had this Coral Divide preview, the price of these potions skyrocketed. So stockpile these potions and get ready for some huge gold making opportunities. And last but certainly not least, I want to just kind of have a quick call out. So, as many of us know, when we craft this new 725 Gorgon gear, there are a handful of requirements, which include a ton of prismatic materials, which again, we already talked about. But there's one other specific material that is a requirement when crafting this essentially best in slot gear, and that's a Gorgon's Eye. I have 27 of these, and if you guys remember when this raid first came out, these eyes were selling for like 1 or 200 gold each. I'm not sure how your server is today, but when I jump over on mine and search for Gorgon's Eye, I can see that the price of these are almost 2.5k each, which is insane. That stack of 27 Gorgon's Eyes I have right now are over 50k gold, which is easy. And honestly, I believe that this price is actually going to go higher up over time. Eventually, new perks are going to be coming to New World Aeternum. I'm not saying it's coming in Season 8, but I'm saying that they are coming eventually. When they do, there's a good chance that there's some sort of debatable new best in slot perk for PvP, which means everyone's going to want it, which means is going to recraft their best in slot gear, which means they need more Gorgon's Eye. That leads to higher demand, which means more money in your pocket. Again, it could be risky, but I do think it's worth stocking up on some of these Gorgon's Eyes, even if it's just from your weekly raise itself. That covers the video. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned a few tips and tricks to make sure that your Season 8 is started off in a great and profitable way. Thanks again, and I'll catch you guys later.